Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod, and this is Star Wars 7x7. So I have to say, there's not a lot to talk about exactly in terms of anything that's revealed by the tour that Donald Glover gives of the Millennium Falcon under Lando's watch for the whole promotional thing of Solo: A Star Wars Story. Like, there's nothing from a story perspective really to talk about, aside from maybe that sweet cape closet. But I think what is really more interesting to talk about in regard to that is the whole meta of it. The fact that this is how they are promoting Solo: A Star Wars Story, it is definitely unlike any promotion strategy that they've had for any Star Wars movie at all. I mean, to have the characters walk you around the set and say, hey, here's this character's living space, here's what they think is cool, here's what they're into, here's all that sort of thing. They've never done anything like that. And it really goes to the heart of the kind of movie that they're creating, which is supposed to be different and weird comparatively when you look at every other Star Wars movie that's been made. And Ron Howard even spoke to the differentness, if you will, of the movie when he even talked about the music in the movie being a character in its own right in Solo: A Star Wars Story. Like, that in the interview on the Star Wars show was a rather interesting thing to suggest. And he also talked about its rebellious nature and that it's got a recklessness to it and a very 70s vibe to the way that the whole thing was shot and filmed and constructed. But just getting back to the Lando thing really briefly. So it goes so fast, but I did take a few screenshots that will be on our Facebook page. So if you want to get a look at the captions that popped up for all the different elements in the different rooms inside the Millennium Falcon, then check out our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/SW7x7, and you can see the photo album for that there. And as far as reveals go in terms of the movie itself, the interview that Andy Gutierrez conducted with Ron Howard did get us the information on Ron's brother Clint Howard and where he will appear, and also let us know that we've already seen him, in fact. It turns out that, according to Ron Howard, if there's a Burgess Meredith to the world of the fighting battle droids, then that would be Clint Howard. And in fact, that scene where we see L3 grabbing on somebody's face and Lando has to say, let the mean man's face alone, right? That is Clint Howard getting his face grabbed by L337. But this quote that I'm going to share with you from Ron Howard's interview on the Star Wars show is probably one of the best ones that I've heard yet. And if you want to get into the idea of why Star Wars is so special, well, I mean, if you ask 100 different people why Star Wars is so special, you're going to get 105 different answers. So, be that as it may, Ron Howard has a very interesting take on it from his unique experience, and I want to share that with you here.
One of the things that I really discovered, having always been a fan, I really did not appreciate how complicated the harmonics of the way these movies entertain us really is. Yeah. So it looks simple, it looks fun, it's playful, it's exciting, it's got heart, all of those things.
There's all of these other things that you have to hit.
And you put them together along with the technical cinematic mastery that is required in order to tell these stories this way. It's an entirely unique kind of storytelling experience from a director's standpoint. And as fans, we're not meant to think about what it takes to make the movie. We're meant to just lose ourselves in it.
So I think a lot of us don't necessarily appreciate on a day-to-day basis, and how could we, right? We're not involved in this whole thing, but how difficult and challenging and creatively exciting it is to create a Star Wars movie. And I suppose if you wanted to draw an inference and suggest that, hey, this might be part of the reason why Phil Lord and Christopher Miller had some difficulty on the set. I mean, there were some other things going on too, but the idea of making a Star Wars movie and it being such a unique experience in actually creating the movie itself, well, that may have played a role in why Lord and Miller are no longer a part of this whole party. And for that matter, it could also be a reason why Colin Trevorrow is no longer a part of Episode 9. I mean, we don't know how far back the experience of creating the movie goes when Ron Howard's talking about it. All we know is that he was just suddenly like, bing, like on the set, and that was it. But there had to have been some lead time with him looking at the script and talking with the story group and the producers and so on and so forth. So, it wasn't just he magically appears on set and suddenly he's directing everything and la 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 la. He had to have had some time to prepare for this thing, and maybe it is a lot different in terms of its experience compared to anything else out there. And I think I'm almost proud of that in a way. That's what Star Wars should be. It should be an utterly unique experience for a filmmaker. And so thank goodness Ron Howard was able to work with it. All right, that's going to do it for the major part of the podcast here. I've got Last Jedi Trivia over on the audio version. That's sw7x7.com/iTunes or wherever you like to listen to podcasts. But for now, it just remains for me to say thank you so much for watching, and may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.